do a test run anyway, because this is our first time being like, oh,
hello.
I need to put some lip balm on.
Do you have any powder?
Welcome to another week of being a tepid mess, the show where we try to be not hot but tepid messes. I'm Sonja, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Theo.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, I'm finding the camera set up a bit
Right, full disclosure, we did just frantically put on makeup. We didn't decide to do this, right? We talked about it, and we were like, yeah, maybe we should record a video podcast. And then we came and we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's try it. And
yeah, my Sagittarius rising, I think, let's do it.
And mine being like, oh fuck, oh Jesus.
You may never see this video, it may never see the light of day.
Yeah, that is possible. We'll see how many chins accumulate throughout the podcast. And then we make a decision based on that. It's like my ego can only go so far. Really.
Self-love only goes so far.
I feel like I keep looking as well, and I feel like that's like nearly breaking the fourth wall. It's like, are we characters?
Do you in the office when people are like, how's your week?
It was good, yeah, not too bad. I had quite a few things on. I forgot the show notes, so I was like, I'm going to add it and then I'll read it. But so I guess the big thing for me really was work. Again, it's just third week into new job.
Yeah.
Chaos, pandemonium, working constantly. My partner was away for the week, so he was in Germany for work, so it was grand. But because of that, then I didn't really have anything to do in my spare. Not that I didn't have anything to do in my spare time. Like I am a fully grown adult person with hobbies and shit like that. But I just figured, you know what, take the time to do as much as you can. But then that resulted in me like hardly sleeping, hardly eating. It was like just obsessive about it. So I also was working from his desk. And I've gotten major desk envy now because his desk is right in front of like a massive window. And he's got these really cool LED lights that you can change to pink. I was living my best life. I was like, I became a little obsessed with myself.
I feel like that's very like Elwood's corporate.
So nice.
Yeah.
It was so like, so first of all, like it looks out onto our estate. So I was just that nosy bitch all the time. Like a bit like, as soon as I saw the garbage, who am I? the what do you say in Ireland? Like the rubbish truck?
Yeah.
The rubbish truck, I guess?
The bin man.
The bin man, yes, yeah. Do you know what that made me think of? What? Have you seen that bin man that walks around Cork City with no shirt on?
Oh my god, Sonja, so in Cork, I feel like there are characters that we all know. High Kick Kev being one, Dancing Dave being another, and Sexy Bin Man.
Sexy is such a stretch as well. The man, you can smell the man from the other end of the
street. He's a bin man. It's an important job, of course he smells. But, like, I was completely unaware of Sexy Bin Man. My whole life, until I was driving through town. And Burns is like, oh, there's Sexy Bin Man. And I was like, what? Like, do you find this man attractive? Because, you know, we all have our taste, that's fine. It's like, no, sexy in that he's in, like, shorts and, like, a tank top, like, all year round.
And it's not even a tank top, it's the high-vis jacket with no shirt underneath. It's, like, padded. Like, there's supposed to be things worn underneath. I just love it. Whoever he is, you're an icon.
So, Sexy Bin Man, if you want to reach out, we'd love to have you on that. What is his real name? It's probably Brian. Brian the Sexy Bin Man.
Yeah, Brian the Sexy Bin Man.
Yeah. So new desk setup went well.
New desk setup. I was just enamored with myself with all this natural light that was coming in when I was on calls. I was literally like, you know, it's like whenever I'm in a video call, I'm spending more time looking at myself than anyone else. Because I'm like, is my face reacting appropriately to this? And then you just see my eyes like into the corner where my little face is, and then I'm like, well, now it looks weird.
Find me someone who isn't just staring at themselves on a video call. I want to meet them. I want to know who this person is. Yeah. Because we're all just looking at ourselves, right?
Yeah. I mean, flat out. I mean, it's so bad. I'm like just trying to gauge like what my reaction to things is, and if I'm looking proper, and if I look haggard and things. I'm like, oh. So to be honest, a lot of it was work. Yesterday I met up with a friend for brunch, which was really, really nice. We went to Salt. They didn't have the shakshuka. You reckon they don't do that anymore, which is a pity. So I got the French toast with bacon and apple compote. Ooh.
Delightful.
And my friend got the avocado toast, which also looked delicious, but I had an egg ick that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I eat an egg, I might projectile vomit. So, not ideal.
Nice.
Then went to the Marina Market.
Okay.
And I got myself a leather jacket from the vintage stall there. I wanted to get a leather jacket for ages, and I feel like I've gotten really bad into the habit of like buying from fast fashion places. Like I got really good for it in Dublin because there's so many charity shops and it's good quality stuff. Like I was getting really nice stuff and things like that. But I don't know, I guess I came back to Cork, and anyway, I was in like when you're just facing a bit of uncertainty with new work and new house and all this, retail therapy is valid.
The dopamine hit of a penny's run. And we all know it's not sustainable. We all know it's not great, but it's different.
Agreed.
So good.
So I was like, I need to temper this now, and if I pay a little bit more for something that's good quality and will last longer and that I'll value more.
Okay, what's the white of the jacket? Are we black? Are we brown? Are we?
So it's black. It's a black leather biker jacket. It's quite heavy. I'll show you it later. I'm a big fan. It's like, I'll even show it now. Like, come in and be like,
a leather jacket, I think, is a wardrobe staple. That will do you a long time.
That's what I thought. And I was like, do you know what? Fuck it. So I went to go buy it, and your man goes, he was like, how much, like, he was like, do you know how much it is? And I was like, I have an upper limit in mind. And he was like, it's €100. And I was like, that's close to the upper limit. And he was like, €90? I was like, okay.
Oh, slammed.
And then I turned, I was there in my head, I was like, it's because I'm pink.
You know what? Girl.
It's just a man trying to make a sale, like, and I was there. So my tepid mess moment of the week was definitely me being like, pretty privileged. And it made me think of so many conversations and situations that we've had where we're literally just like, it's because I'm gorgeous. Obviously, they're in love with me.
Yeah, and sometimes I delusionally say, that's the pretty privilege.
I remember. So you're gonna kill me. So I'm
afraid of what you're gonna say.
Because I have this moment all the time. So I'm knowing.
Oh, I actually know what you're gonna say. Okay.
So the first thing that popped into my head was when we were in Dublin.
Do you know what? Go on, tell the story.
Sorry, I need to cough. I'm like, okay, she's clear. The first time was in Dublin when Niamh came to visit me, and it was January, and obviously Dublin is a touristic place. You tend to have people walking around with these like big cameras and whatever. And it was when we were about to cross the street at O'Connell Street, right in front of the Spire, and Niamh, I didn't even really understand what was happening, but she put her hands into her pockets and she kind of went.
I was doing it.
Yeah, like give him one of these. Yeah. And she thought there was a man taking a picture, and she thought he was taking a picture.
I thought he was like a street fashion photographer. Just the ones you see on TikTok, it's like do. And I thought I was so beautiful that he was taking pictures of me. And I just remember this man was just like, and I was like, and he just like came out from behind the camera like. So for the benefit of people listening, he literally just ushered me to the side, as in like, get out of my shot. I've never been so humble. I needed to be brought back down to earth that day. I was flying too high. Ego was getting too inflated.
Do you know what? Being Delulu is the Solulu.
It's the Solulu.
It's the Solulu.
Do you know what I was just thinking about as you were telling your leather jacket story?
What?
I now consciously check the price of everything before I go to check out. Because I have been burned so badly and so embarrassed. So I was in Sorrento, like beautiful Italian, like La Vita Bella or whatever, like absolutely stunning. I didn't realise how formal Sorrento is for dinner, and I brought with me a pair of Birkenstocks and a pair of runners. So I just felt a bit like going into these restaurants at night time. I was like, there was literally Italian women in heels. Like I was like, oh god, okay, I'm gonna have to buy a pair of shoes. And I was wearing my runners during the day. Saw this lovely little shop with these little handmade sandals. Like a man was like making them out the front, and I was like, you know what, that's lovely, and like this would be a lovely souvenir to have as well. And there was some with the little glitzy bits.
Yeah.
And the lady in the shop was like so attentive. Tried on these sandals, and I was like, yeah, perfect, I'll take them. They were on my feet, and she was like, amazing. Took my runners, put them in a shoe box, and was like, brought me to the till. Was like, this will be €240. And when I say, out of sheer embarrassment and awkwardness, I nearly handed over my card. I was like, oh my god, they're on my feet now. My runners are in a box in a bag. I'm gonna have to buy them.
Did you buy them?
No, there was a voice in my head that was like, Niamh girl, you need to grow a spine here now and say no. So it was the most embarrassing. I've never ever taken shoes off. I was like, oh God, sorry, I didn't realize that they were that expensive. And she's like, yeah, these are real Swarovski crystal. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, okay. You know what? I think I'm going to have to think about this. So rapidly whipped them off my feet, got my manky runners back on and ran out of the shop. I was like, oh my God. So anytime I go to buy something that doesn't have a price tag, I'm like, how much? How much?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a very valid approach to take. I don't know why I had such confidence. I put it on.
It was a pretty privilege.
It's the I was like,
they should be paying me to wear this.
It's like, I'll give you free promo.
Yeah, I'm a model.
I was just, do you know what, and it was just so funny because I thought, because I started telling my boyfriend about all this and I was like, you know, the pretty privilege kind of got to my head a bit because like, sometimes I'm like, someone literally does a decent, like a normal decent thing, like holding a door open, I'm like, you're welcome. Don't fall in love with me, buddy. It's delusional, like it's absolutely delusional.
You know what?
But you know, I'm so sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus, but I feel like I've thrown myself under the bus as well. I hope.
You know what? It's fine.
But when we were recently parked in the city, and you were giving me a lift. I don't know, was it to my car or home or where? But you were giving me a lift anyway. And we were coming out of the car park, and you had your ticket ready to go in, and the barrier automatically lifted, and you were like, do you know, sometimes I really feel the effects of pretty privilege. I was like, they can't even see you. Like.
Even the people in a multi-story car park give me things for free. I'm so pretty. Oh my God. And you know what the scary thing is? I actually don't even remember this. This is just a common theme in my head.
I love it. Do you know what? I say it to myself. I think more people should say it because it makes you're like, do you know what? Maybe I am being delusional, but who gives a shit?
Maybe act like the girl you want to be, not the girl you are.
Yeah. So that was my tepid mess moment where I was into it. I feel like I had quite a few of them this week as well. I was like, just, I don't know, but I had a very chaotic week, and I think even like on Friday had a bit of work news that was like, essentially, like, I mean, look, let's see how things go, but the future is a bit uncertain at the minute, and I was literally just there like, womp womp. I was like, I had no reaction. My brain was just like, well.
Yeah, when you called over to me, I was kind of expecting like a bit more emotion, but you were grand.
I was fine. I was just like, that's gas.
Yeah.
I think I've become so apathetic to trauma.
Yeah, trauma. Oh my God.
So that was my week. Yeah. That was my tepid mess moment. Apart from that as well, I have two important birthdays coming up. So I have my mom's 60th coming up this coming week. So I've been arranging, you know, her birthday present and trying to make sure I've got that all set up and going out for dinner.
Cute.
And then it's my boyfriend's birthday the week after that. He's away in India for a week and then he comes back.
Nice. So
I'm planning that birthday now at the minute as well. So it was a busy week.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Yeah. How was yours?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I tried a new pole fitness class.
Ooh.
And it was hilarious. It was. Do you remember the pole fitness class we did? This was maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was long before COVID.
It was a long time ago, but I feel like that pole fitness class was more about getting in touch with like your sensuality, and me and Sonja we just spent the whole thing laughing.
Yeah.
Do you remember she was like, now caress your hair and slowly caress your body and all this, and me and Sonja were like, excuse me? I just want to spin.
Yeah.
This was very much more spinning.
Nice.
And kind of more like gymnasticy or something. It was really fun, but Jesus Christ, I literally look like I have been beaten up from the waist down. I have friction burns like on the backs of my legs and bruises, like as in jeepers.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a 6-week course. I'm not going to have an inch of unbattered skin by the end of it. But we had such a laugh. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Nice.
And then what did I do? So I was working on Saturday and took it easy Saturday night, and met a friend for a walk this morning. We're going to see All of Us Strangers tonight.
Nice.
So I'm excited to see that. I've heard it's a real tearjerker. I think Paul Mescal, I think his trope is sad sexy right now.
Sad sexy
person. That's
sad,
his character.
Sexy run away in parks.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I actually saw that he was on a chicken shop dating with Amelia de Moldenberg.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what to you is romantic? He's like, I like going on walks. And I was like, and running.
Yeah.
That rumour about him is hilarious.
Could you imagine if someone did that to you? You were like, first of all, the fact that you have this encounter with a celebrity, you're probably like, oh my God. And I'm sure people, like, I don't know, if it's true, first of all, that's the first question.
I think it's been corroborated by a couple of people.
There's been a few, right? It sounds like this hasn't just happened
Either
to one person.
It's happened. Vicious rumour.
Yeah.
Or It's real.
Yeah, I kind of all the rumours to go round of a celebrity, it's probably one of the tamer but also unhinged. Like, imagine your reputation is that you sleep with someone, take them for a little walk, and then just fucking run out the out the door. But like,
I start running after him.
yeah, I'm like,
Which and this is all allegedly.
allegedly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to see that tonight, and like, I feel like the last Paul Mescal movie I saw was After Sun, and I genuinely had to excuse myself when I watched it because I was hysterical crying.
Really?
Like sobbing crying. Oh my
God.
god, like, so yeah, there'll be about 2 packs of pocket tissues going in tonight now.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
yeah,
Nice.
Tepid Mess moment. I had a meeting on Tuesday, and it was kind of like a professional kind of setting, and you know, like the men in suits were there, and I actually don't. I'm so embarrassed actually even saying this. They gave me some good news, and my reaction was, "Oh, work," and it was very, very, very much work with an E. Oh, work.
Jesus.
And I think they didn't know how to respond. I think they were like, anyway. So yeah, that was my Tepid Mess moment. I was like, yeah, okay, right. Don't use those types of languages. Maybe I should be using more like let's close the loop and let's circle back. And what other corporate phrases is there? Yeah.
Oh my god, I feel like our priorities are misaligned.
Oh.
Is what you're doing is bullshit.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is very important.
Yeah.
That's my favourite. I feel like priorities are misaligned. Let's put a pin in that and come back to it.
Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get my corporate girly dictionary, or not even dictionary, what is it, like vocabulary, and to round it out a small bit. Yeah.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to get into the...
Yes, let's do it. I think it's a topic that's very relevant to basically the entire demographic that's watching us, I suppose, or listening to us, depending on if they ever get to see this video.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about renting.
Renting. Work like your rent is due. Yeah. So when did you start renting? You started renting in college, right?
Yeah, 18. Yeah, it was I moved out. I think just before I started college. I lived originally, like I've rented in quite a few places.
You have,
both in Cork and elsewhere. So yeah, I moved out when I was 18. I've always kind of ended up returning to my parents at some stage or another. I'm sure they're allergic to me now at this point, but yeah, I've had how many houses have you rented in? I think
3.
I have to think about how many. 3.
3.
Yeah. I've been in 5, 6, 7 now. I think this is my 7th.
I still remember the first place you rented. You moved out before me, and it was in Cork City.
Yeah,
and the house was actually quite nice.
Yeah, it was like a college house. Like it was one of those ones that it was cold and it was, you know, like
for a college house though, it was not the worst.
Yeah, it was grand. Yeah, I had like the box room, so it worked for me. Like, you know, and like when I compare, oh my god, I think about how much I paid for that in comparison to what I pay now, and I'm like,
yeah.
Like I cannot believe how much it's increased.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? Yeah. Was that the house that in the kitchen, the fire alarm was covered by a condom?
No, that was Douglas Street.
Was that Douglas Street?
That was Douglas Street.
God.
So that was the second place that I rented. I think the second. Yeah, that was the second place I rented in, and so we had a fire alarm that was just very, very sensitive.
Yeah.
And, right. Bear in mind, like 18, 19-year-olds, like max age I think was maybe 21.
Yeah.
And there were 2 boys, 2 girls. And we decided one day, just like you'd literally not even burn toast, you cook toast in the toaster, and it would set the fire alarm off.
That's so annoying.
We decided, our roommate at the time was in the Students' Union and had access to quite a lot of condoms. So we're like, oh my god, dual purpose. So we decided to fit the condom around the fire alarm, and it worked perfectly. Like, granted, we were like, if there's a real fire, it'll melt the plastic in the fire alarm.
If the fire has progressed to the point that it's licking the condom on the ceiling, Sonja, I don't think that's the point. I think if it has a sniff of the start of the fire, it's meant to go off to alert you to put it out.
Well, you know, it said the smell was very sensitive, so we had to do something about it. So
I don't think you're talking about it like it's an animal. It's sense of smell. It's very sensitive.
So we put the condom on it, and we forgot about it. Like, we didn't think about it. Now, the thing is, our landlord was a bit of one of those, like, cowboy ones that were like, I'll come on the 1st of the month and collect the rent from underneath the cutlery tray. this type of situation. So like
all cash in hand.
Yeah, it was all cash in hand.
Class.
And he was so like whenever we needed to be there, we always tried to be there when he was coming to collect the rent, just simply because, you know, like we didn't know this guy ultimately, and we wanted to make sure. And he was quite aggressive with the boys in the house whenever it was the two of them. But he was so nice to the girls. Like, he loved us. His big thing was the house has to be kept clean, because he was a bit nervous about having students there, and I think the last tenants that he had were a bit messy as well. So he was like, the house just has to be kept clean. So we used to frantically clean the house. And bear in mind as well, it was just the girls that made this effort. The boys were like, oh, I'm busy. So we would always clean it, and then normally we would try to be the ones that were there. Now, this all stemmed because like one time there was a guy, like one of the guys were there, and the landlord just went fucking ape shit at him over something really small. Like, I think like a window was kept open a crack and you could see some, do you know what, the window wasn't open and there was condensation building. He was like, you need to open the windows, and like basically went on this massive rant on this guy. So we were like, okay, fuck it, we'll be there. Your man walks in anyway and he gets the rent, and then he turns around and I just see his eyes. And myself and the other girl were like, I'm on the fire alarm. We were like, oh my god. And he was like, girls, who did that? We were like, oh my god, didn't even notice that. That's crazy. Like, I was the one that put the condom on the fire alarm. Like, I was the one that was like, I have the best idea. And literally, I think it was purely for that fact that it was the two girls. He just kind of went, ha ha ha, silly girls. And like, and like literally reached up and pulled the condom off the fire alarm and just walked out, like. And then as soon as he left, we put it back on.
Stop! Oh my god! I remember in that house as well. That was where I gave you your brand stark haircut. I cut your hair in that house because we were broke students and couldn't afford fancy haircuts.
That
haircut. I'm surprised you were still friends with me. That deserved a divorce. That was bad.
That was.
I watched like 2 YouTube videos. I feel qualified enough to do this.
I took the. Do you know, it was my like. I ultimately was like, go for it.
Yeah.
Cheap, yay! And I just remember I kept my hair. What was worse, right? Having the shitty haircut or exclusively putting my hair in pigtails? Is it pigtails or is that?
You had like flat braids? Small braids.
Little braids, but the braids, because the hair was so short, literally came up. I went out like this, like fucking. Oh my god! I was like triangle head, like it was outrageous. So.
And I think that was you made me like a really nice dinner for one of my birthdays.
Yeah.
In the house as well, and we got really drunk.
We got very drunk.
And your roommate came in and collapsed.
Yeah.
And then I got sick, and then the whole thing just kind of went mental.
Yeah, it got a bit chaotic towards the end. It was very chaotic.
Yeah.
But that house was great. My room was amazing.
The room was lovely,
I remember having like a really, really massive wardrobe. I had like the best room because I had found the house, so I'm always that person. I'm always the one that like I try to be the one that finds the house so that I can
first dibs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a nice house. It was great.
You know that landlord story, it kind of reminds me of our first landlord as well. So like our first place, do you remember it was like a tiny little flat.
Yeah. It was like a house converted into 3 apartments.
Yeah, it had like a 3-story house. And there was like a ground floor flat, middle floor, and top floor. We were in the middle. Yeah. So essentially what had probably been like 2 bedrooms was now a kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom.
Yeah.
And the rooms were tiny. Like I remember when our friend Sam first visited me in that house, he was like, so is this it? I was like, mm-hmm. Yep. It was tiny. You couldn't swing a cat now. It was so small. And like anytime we guests over, like there was nowhere to put anyone.
Yeah.
Like it was twitchy.
And that was during COVID as well. That was during COVID.
I had to call it after a little while in COVID because Fergus was working from home.
Yeah.
I thank God was going out to work every day, but Fergus was at home and I think he was going slightly mad in there. He was like, it's fine. But I think he was slightly going off his head. But our landlord was the opposite, right? I think our landlord had a thing for Fergus. Because like, when we first went to view the property, it was like, we're like, oh hi, and he was like, hi, and then very quickly was all chat to him and just forgot about me. And anytime he called over, he'd be like, Fergus man, how are you? You're here.
Hello, woman.
Yeah, it's like, you problem. Like, oh my god, it was hilarious. And like Fergus, anytime anything broke or we needed like information or something, he'd be like, I'll text him, no problem. I was like, yeah, I'd probably be told to get lost. Anything for you, darling. Anything for you. Yeah, love to. Yeah. I've actually, you've had a fair whack of roommates. I've only ever lived with Fergus.
Yeah. But roommates, I mean, it can be such a mixed bag. I've only ever lived, like, so...
I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't think I could do it.
Yeah, do you know, it gives you great stories though. Like,
It does give you
if
great
it's not
stories.
absolutely unlivably terrible, then it can give you some great stories. And my most recent experience or remains. Because, right, I don't look, I'm not going to name names. We're going to call this person Rita.
Rita. Yeah.
Rita was, to your face, a very, very, seemed like actually the nicest person within the house. So I moved to Dublin, and what I really needed, I felt I needed at the time, was girlfriends, just a group of gals to hang out with and get to know and all this. And one of these girls was so nice in the beginning, so intensely nice, let's hang out every single weekend and la la la. And I was like, oh, this is so nice, but it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And
she was kind of love bombing you a little bit.
I think so. When I think back on it, I'm like, weird. But so I at the time was she was away. She wasn't from Ireland, so she was gone for Christmas and came back. And I had been living in the house by myself essentially for about 2 weeks. Yeah. And then that weekend, I was about to go into the office and basically tell my boss that I had started seeing someone that I worked with. Yeah. And it was going to be, I was just so nervous about it because I was like, what's going to happen? What's the perception of me? And she was like, oh, tell me about your woes. Tell me about why you're nervous about it. And I was like, well, I the key thing, I was like, look, it's very soon after another relationship. It's not my intention to move on so quickly and things like that. But, timing can't be perfect at any stage. And I was like, and also I'm just really nervous about being judged. It's not normal. It's not that it's not normal. It's actually very normal for co-workers to get together.
Yeah, you're around each other all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You see them more than anyone else. But it's not recommended, and there's still a taboo around it. And I get it. It's not a smart idea to date your co-workers, especially kind of casually. But it had happened, and we agreed the feelings were there. We needed to do something about it and get clear the air. Yeah. So I was talking to her. I was like, I'm nervous. I was like, because I'm worried that people are going to judge me. There's a lot of reasons why people might judge me, and at work, this, that, and the other. And she, you already know what's going to be said. She was like,
when I say I actually nearly crashed the car when you called me and told me this story.
She was like, you can't worry about. She goes, you can't worry about people judging you, I was in a relationship with my cousin and I just couldn't worry, people who judge you were not your friends. And I was like, I remember I was stirring a cup of tea and I was literally like, I my back to her, I was like, I was like,
how you held that together? I'd be like,
literally, I was like, okay, and she just said it so, bear in mind, I barely knew the girl. I felt like that was a confession that you make when you know someone for a long time and you have a lot of drinks in your system. We were drinking tea, and she's there, and I've known the girl 2 weeks, and I was like, is this her method of building a bond early, is to just disclose her dirty secrets, so you expose yours, and then you're best friends? And I was like, I don't want to be best friends with the cousin fucker, so. But I asked as well, I was like, did you find out in some crazy way? I was like, was he a long lost cousin that you knew nothing about?
I nearly would, it's not great, but I would be like, oh my god, you didn't know, that's horrifying, you poor thing. Yeah. Jeepers.
Exactly. And no, this was totally not the vibe. Let me make it very clear. This girl knew. She was because she was I was like, oh, did you find out some crazy way? And she was like, well, I realised we were at dinner together and we had been dating for a few months, and we realised that Ira realised that his sister was my cousin, so that must mean that he was also my cousin. I was like, I don't believe you.
Yeah. Were you just aware of his sister and never aware of this other child in their family for your whole childhood?
So I was like, this is not how family works. You don't if you know one, you know them all. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh my god. And then I was like, okay, look, maybe families can be big, things like that. I was like, we're in Ireland, we have families of 500 million people. So
still don't take your first cousin though.
Don't date the first cousin. No.
Yeah.
And even the second cousin, you're like, no, it's too close because my aunt knows your aunt, and my aunt knows your mom, or whatever. It's weird. It's weird. And I was like, oh, I must have been really sad. When you found out, did you have to break up? And she was like, no, we were in a relationship for 3 years.
I'm sorry. Jail.
And it was the best relationship I ever had. She was also in a relationship at the time, and she still is in that relationship, and seems very happy. I was just, and look, if she wants to live her life saying that people shouldn't judge her for that, totally fair. But the people that will judge her, obviously not her friends. I'm just not her friend. But I will just say there was a lot of other circumstances that came up throughout that tenancy that was just
bonkers.
Crazy. Like, this girl preached about not being judgmental, was also the most judgmental person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And, like, made me and the other roommate and whoever feel just so shitty about themselves. Like, honestly, like, was just whatever. Like, I don't wish that person any harm, because now that I'm out of the circumstance, I don't give a shit about them. But it was just awful. Like, it was really, really tough. And was always this very kind of like fake niceness that could never be direct, and that's just not my vibe. Was all kind of like do you remember, like, had the issue with the toilet?
Oh my god. Yeah. So in this house, there was a downstairs toilet, and then the upstairs bedrooms had en suites. So, like, you think, like, the downstairs toilet that's just off the living room, if you need to pee when you're in the living room, you're allowed to use it. Yeah,
and bear in mind as well, like, the rent was split in a way. Like, I supposedly had the biggest room. I don't think I had the biggest room. When I look at the other rooms, I don't think it was the biggest, but whatever. I supposedly had the biggest room, and it had an ensuite, so I paid the most. But the amount that I paid was like nearly €500 more than what this girl was paying, because her bathroom was downstairs, but she had a bigger bathroom than me.
Yeah.
Bigger shower, everything. And I would have thought that the reason she paid less was because the bathroom was downstairs, it was kind of like a communal bathroom as well. So I used the bathroom when she, like, before, in those 2 weeks that I was by myself. Nobody ever said to me, like, don't use that bathroom.
Yeah.
And but I had Niamh and a friend over, and they used the bathroom, and I reckon it was a boy, so must have left the lid up or something, and she woke up the next morning and then sent me this text. And, like, do you know when you can just feel, like, you don't need someone to actively, like, even through text, you can feel someone's anger, and it was just so unjustified. Like, it was just so bizarre. And then the suitcase shit, and
oh my god,
this one, like, honest to God, like, look, love and peace.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
I wish this person all the peace in the world, because they need it. But, like, honestly, it was just some of the most bizarre, frustrating things, that it was just that constant, like, no matter what you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And it was just this, like, passive aggressive behavior. Like, never to your face would be like, hey, you did this last night, please don't do that again. And then it would be squashed. It was like things like, it was even, she thought I stole her suitcase, and she was oh my god.
I feel like every single time you interacted with her after, like, you why would you steal a suitcase? Like,
why? Exactly. And it was apparently the suitcase was gone since before I moved out. I was like, what the fuck? It was like, wait, and like, she even sent me pictures of her pointing, and this went on for like a month.
Yeah, I remember at one point, like, any time you interacted with her, she's like, any sign of my suitcase? And you were like, I have never seen this suitcase.
Literally. And like, it was never to my face as well. She'd only kind of, like, it was like never actively accusing, because I nearly prefer, she was like, I think you stole my suitcase. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But like, it was never that. It was always like, it's so strange, like, where could it possibly have gone? It was there before you moved in, and it's gone now. I was like, I don't think it was there before I moved in, because I think you're a dozy bitch, and I don't think that you realise that you've done something with it, or whatever has happened, and she's gonna find it. I just remember the same thing then towards the, because just, it got to the point where, like, I'd be getting these, like, shitty little texts for a whole month from when I first moved in, and I was like, okay, there's something wrong with this girl. Like, there's something wrong here. And then it got to a point where I was like, I sent her a message, and I was like, can we please talk about this in person, because I can't deal with these texts. Like, she was sending me pictures of her pointing to where the suitcase used to be. I was like,
that is so annoying.
Like, so unnecessarily, like, rude, you know, and accusatory. And I was just, she didn't respond to that. That was the thing. If there was something that was like, outwardly just like, let's just resolve this like adults, instead of texting each other with like little fairy emojis and sparkles.
Yeah, it was because she'd like say something really passive aggressive and then have like, I love her, a bow and a fairy.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay.
And that's it. I'm like, I just couldn't deal with it. So then I remember she came in, and like, it was like the end of her day or whatever, and I didn't want to do it, but I was just like, look, can I just see, like, is everything okay with us? Because I feel like you're angry with me. And I was like, and can we just clear up? I have no need to take your suitcase. I haven't touched it. I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't deal with getting these texts anymore. I was like, if you've lost your suitcase, that's on you. It's not on me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just remained, like, I think that really set the tone, because that was the first month. And then, sure, something similar happened then, like, towards the end of me staying there. She lost a basin, and she sent another message into our group chat.
A basin? Like the sink?
Yeah, like a basin for the sink. And she was like, girls, my basin has disappeared. Where is it? I went into the spare room. and found immediately, like within seconds, I found this basin. It was there, and I went out into the kitchen and I showed her the basin, and I was like, "Is this what you were looking for?" Because it was like, she goes, "Oh my god!" She was like, "Thanks so much. Yeah, that's it." And she was like, "No chance you'd find my suitcase as well." This was 10 months. This was like October, November, and this had all happened with the suitcase in January. I have never felt a flash of rage, because I don't feel that kind of rage for many people, but it was just months and months of this this person who, whenever you said something, kind of acted like you had said something stupid.
Yeah.
But then, like, repeatedly behaved like a child.
Yeah.
And said the most unhinged shit I've ever heard in my life.
Anytime you tell me anything about this person, I'd be like, well, they fucked their cousin.
Yeah.
They knowingly were in a relationship with their cousin. They don't have a leg to stand on.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, they're giving out about flipping the lights being left on in the hall. They still wrote their cousin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll pay an extra tenner to not fuck my cousin for my electricity bill.
Yeah.
Like, it was just unhinged. And just even the whole process of moving out was made so difficult because of them, because like it was just chaos. And like I gave my roommates like 2 months notice, because I had decided I was moving back to Cork, because I was looking for renting in Dublin, and that's the thing, like renting is so expensive. And
Dublin especially, it's everywhere really, but Dublin's like crazy.
Oh, it was awful. Like, we were looking, because we both took remote jobs, so we knew that we needed at least 2 separate rooms to work from, whether or not that was one of our bedroom and then maybe the living room or whatever. Like, we needed something, and we ideally wanted a 2-bedroom place, but we were willing to look at 1-bedroom places if they were big enough to have a desk and space for us to work in. You were talking about like $2.5K more for even a 1 bed, and then like you're basically just working to live. And it makes me sad to have to leave Dublin because of the renting situation. And I'm happy I'm back in Cork, you know. I'm happy to be back, and we could do the podcast and all that kind of stuff. I like it a lot, but there was a lot of nice things in Dublin I really enjoyed. I miss dancing. I miss going for a boogie. Yeah. It's so hard in Cork. It's rough out there.
Yeah. So. It's rough on the streets, I'm telling you. Honestly, your stories about roommates, I'm just like, I don't think I'd have the patience that you do. I think, Because I think there's certain things with roommates as well. Like when it's your partner, you can be like, stop doing that, it's really annoying. And kind of hash it out. Whereas I think there's kind of a little bit of a barrier with roommates. Do you know what I mean? You can't just come out and say whatever you feel. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So, and also I feel really, like, unless I was friends with them or like knew them quite well, I feel really awkward just sitting down in the living room being like, we put on the telly? Yeah. Yeah. I would find that tough. I feel like I'd have to be on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that I couldn't just, like, relax of an evening. Yeah. I'd be definitely the weird roommate in my room all the time.
That was me for a lot of it. And, like, during the first few months as well, I was still, like, recovering from a breakup. So I'd be there in my room. And, like, I was also going through exams and stuff like that, because I was doing a college course at the start of last year. So, literally, I felt bad for it at the time, but, like, you shouldn't feel guilty for wanting to be alone. Like, especially, like...
Also, you pay rent, you can do what you want.
Exactly. You know? And, like, I think that's the tough thing about having roommates. Exactly like you said, you kind of always feel like you have to make an effort, even when you're in your own home. Yeah. Like, when you're living with a partner, or even if you're living with someone that you've already had as a friend, so you don't need to like be like, look, I'm just gonna. But when it's strangers and they seem to and it's a really lovely thing if your roommates like want to be friends with you and want to hang out with you and stuff like that. But like it was quite invasive, and like it was just more of a case of I just spent so much time in my room that eventually they just kind of stopped asking me. And I feel guilty for that sometimes. I did still hang out with them, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've been for lunch and brunch and walks and dinner at the house with my roommates and stuff like that in the past. But I just didn't think that it needed to be so, like, if there's a natural friendship that comes out of it, great. And, like, I did have a very natural friendship that came out of living there, and it was so nice. Like, the other roommate was very nice and got on very well with them. But... yeah, it was. Oh man, it was just rough. It was tough. Yeah, it was tough.
What's like the best place you've lived and the worst place you've lived?
Ooh.
Just in terms of like house.
House. I think best has to be the house in Dublin.
That was like, so nice.
It was like fucking. It was insane.
It was beautiful.
It was a beautiful house. It was like a stone's throw away from the Aviva Stadium. Absolutely stunning. Yeah. Great location. Everything. Worst? I don't know. I've lived in some strange places. objectively, and again, it's not to say that it was a bad house, because I think I've been quite lucky with the houses I lived in. But objectively, it probably was my first house in college.
I remember that.
It was I was in a box room. It was cold and had a lot of damp and things. It was one of those like traditional like renters' houses in Ireland.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, again, like I don't want to be ungrateful for it, because it was ultimately a nice house. There was space. It was grand.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know what? I feel really bad because I actually haven't rented that many places, but like objectively, as you said, I think the worst was probably our first tiny place.
Yeah.
But that being said, I actually have so many happy memories from living there, because like it was our first time living together, like first time, you know, like going down to Tesco's and buying mugs, like to be so many happy memories of like, you know, we were so young and like starting out, and you know, like, but objectively speaking, by the time we were leaving, I was so sick of that place. They also had storage heaters, which never worked. So it was freezing cold, and like we had like people come out and fix them like 4 or 5, 6 times, and they just never worked. So objectively speaking, that was a really shitty flat. Yeah. But I have so many happy memories, and the rent was like nothing. The rent like cost nothing. And the best I'd say was the last place we rented. It was this gorgeous 2-bed apartment. It was so nice. I loved the bathroom, loved the kitchen, like everything was lovely. Our neighbours were lovely, and it was a great location. Like we were so close to the city and everything. But I actually just remember it. So it was our first time renting not directly with a landlord. Like we had an agent. So like, you know, and I feel like it felt more formal because like when it was like directly a landlord, it just kind of felt like, oh, just give them a buzz, they'll get that sorted. Yeah. Whereas like I remember the washing machine broke, and you had to like raise a work order ticket with the agency. It just felt very like official or something. Yeah. And I just remember it was so gas. Like before, like if something broke in our previous rentals, like you might be waiting a couple of days before someone came in to look at it. But we raised this work order ticket, and I think within like an hour, we didn't even get a call. Just this man arrived at our door. And we were like, oh my god, but no, he was a bit unhinged. So, like, I don't know who he was. I don't know, like, was he a plumber? I don't know.
So, the man in a high vis.
Yeah, he was just like, hello, I'm here to fix your washing machine. We were like, oh yeah, thanks a million, yeah. And like the wash is like stuck in it, so there could be water in it. And I just remember, I feel like look, I'm not a plumber or a tradesperson, but I really got the vibe that he had a clue what he was doing. He was just kind of looking at it and kind of switching things, and then he like pulled out the washing machine from the wall. But I don't know what he did, but water just started seeping out everywhere. Jesus. And I was like, do I help? So I was just kind of like on the edges, like, here's a towel, throw it in at him. Like, if you need that, do you want a cup of tea? It was just so gas, and we were like literally in the kitchen, like skitting, being like, your man is drenching the place into no ocean, what's going on? So yeah, eventually we just got a new washing machine, which is great. Yeah. But yeah, it was, oh my god, I loved that apartment. It makes me sad thinking about it sometimes. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it was so nice. It was gorgeous. Yeah. It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like, my heart goes, like, look, I'm renting at the minute, and I'm not happy with how much I'm renting for. Yeah. But I'm happy with the space that I'm in, and that's already like very lucky. I think once you like the space, it's kind of a bit of an easier pill to swallow than if you were paying a lot of money for essentially a shithole. Yeah.
I think that's unfortunately kind of like where a lot of Irish like 20-somethings are. Either you kind of get stuck in the renting cycle, or you just have to break the cycle and move home with your parents to save. Yeah. Which is like so sad that that's the reality. Like, you know, that you can't rent and save really anymore. Like, you know, but look,
for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. Like I even think of like, you know, like what if you can't go back to your parents? Like in my heart, like honestly, it's so tough because your only options really at the minute, because you pay probably double to rent somewhere than you would if you had a mortgage, and yet somehow it's impossible to get mortgages, and it's so difficult to raise the funds and save and things like that. Or
girls just want to have funds.
Yeah, that's it, and it's so tough. I really feel like we've really been fucked out of it with the people that own multiple properties and then crib about the fact that what about the landlords? It's like why don't you like? And it's probably not even the private landlords are such an issue, right? I like look. Ultimately, you do have to have a system where renting is possible, because not everyone is going to want to own a house. It's not normal in any society for absolutely everyone to own their property, and apparently it's very, very common in Ireland it's quite an unusual factor in Ireland that we want to own property. Like it's not the like, most
in like Germany and stuff. You can like enter into like 20-year leases, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's your home.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I think it's a very Irish mentality to own land.
Yes.
And own your own like patch of land, which is your home. But like it's these like like look, I'm sure everyone in Ireland and probably in their own countries as well have these problems, but like this whole concept of like vulture funds and things like that coming in, absolutely destroying our market. It being allowed is just crazy. Like it's really times like that you're just like, I'm so disappointed that this is being allowed. Like, whatever about your landlord being a dodgy landlord and coming in and taking the rent from under the cutlery drawer.
And pulling condoms off.
This is it.
Fire alarm.
That's just one guy, and like I get that. That's just one guy.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the thing. I don't despise landlords. I think there's this whole like movement of like burn landlords and stuff. I don't despise landlords like that who have a couple of extra properties, because ultimately they're a necessary evil. I'm not saying that all landlords are perfect, and I don't want the cowboy landlords that are like that. Yeah. But it's just more knowing that it's allowed. It's even possible for these vulture funds to come and buy. Wasn't it like there was a news story recently where like this vulture fund bought like 70% of a new like housing development, which accounted for like 70 houses or something, and you're like, what the fuck?
But you know what? I think like there needs to be some kind of incentive for developers, because like if you're a developer and you can just immediately now have the money for 70 units rather than sell 70 units one by one, and that could take like a year or 2 years to sell them all, whereas you could have all the money and your profit in your hand now. There needs to be some kind of financial incentive for developers to steer away from the vulture funds and go to private sale. You know?
It just should, but like these private sales of such mass numbers just shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
Like it's, first of all that, and I agree with you definitely, like there should be incentivization. But what pisses me off is these developers are just as fucking greedy as the vulture funds, because they like it's just, I feel like greed has, like this is starting to get very social. But like greed has just enveloped the country. It's just the people that can, like, it's all about making as much money as you can with as little effort as possible. And to some degrees you understand it, but then in other senses you're like, this is actively harming the society that you live in, and it's going to destroy your children's futures and your grandchildren's futures. And then you've got like, do you know, these like boomers that are like, oh, stop buying your avocado toast, and you're like, fuck you, like you bought a house for like the change in your pocket, like you went to college, you didn't even need a college degree to go do your fucking law shit. I don't know. I'm like, do you know, it just, it pisses me off so much that greed it has taken Irish society so quickly, because like we've evolved as a country so fast, right? I mean, like people talk about the fact that like Ireland is like a tech hub and things like that, like it's a huge, and obviously that's because of greed again, because the tax is so low. But like, I don't know, it just, I could talk about that for days, I feel, because
but no, it's an important issue, and it's like I think especially our generation are feeling very, very hard done by, and I don't know about you, but like so many people that I know are leaving to go to Australia and Canada. Like, so many. It's kind of like what I perceived to be kind of like what was happening in the recession. Like everyone was emigrating, and unfortunately it's not that it's lack of jobs here or anything, it's just that we now have created a society that the salaries here can't support.
It's the cost of living.
You literally can't afford to live here even if you're in full-time gainful employment. Like it's crazy. It
sucks. It really does suck. And what makes me so sad is like, you know, you see so many like young workers, or even like what really breaks my heart, and I saw a lot in Dublin, I haven't seen it so much in Ireland, or in Cork, just simply because I haven't really been so exposed to other culture. Like, you know, I have my group of friends and they're all Irish and we all empathise with each other. But when I was in Dublin, I met a lot of say Brazilian people, and they're literally like, it's slumlords, like it's fucking like it's people that are literally selling you. There was someone I knew who slept in half a bed, and like, now to be fair, that person was so sweet about it. They were like, look, I made that decision, I chose to live there, it's not so bad, you get used to it and stuff like that. But like, it just shouldn't, like, it breaks my heart that some fucking Billy Bob Joe has decided that that's actually really easy for me to do, and I'm just going to turf out my 3-bedroom house to 15 people.
That's crazy.
And it happens. And these people are still paying quite a lot of money just for the fact to have some shelter over their head. And they've come here to, you know, learn important skills or go to college or learn English and things like that. And they're just being punished for it. And they could be like, and it gives such a bad perception of Ireland. There's so many people I've met that are like, I hate Ireland because it's so expensive to live here, and you just don't have anything good here. Like, at least if there was like great, and not anything good, I don't want to be so negative, but like, and they're not, like, people aren't so negative, but if people could be like, do you know, it's just the fact that like we do lack a lot of like the structure and a lot of the sort of like infrastructure in Ireland. Maybe Dublin has more, and it's such a pity that hasn't fed out more, but even Dublin itself just doesn't, it can't compete with the likes of like, you know, major cities in Germany and major cities in like the UK and stuff like that. And fortunately, as it is right now, it's the only European country where English is the first language. So like with the UK gone, you're going to continue to get more people coming, because then they can, you know, ultimately apply and become European citizens, and it'll keep happening. But I just, it makes me sad. It makes me sad.
Yeah. In conclusion, eat the rich.
Eat the rich, eat the vulture funds.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. Anyway, rant over.
Rant over.
Rant over.
That was good though. That was very intellectual and put together very well. So well done you.
Yeah. I'm like, shrieking.
The birds are working for the bourgeoisie.
What is it? The rats own this city.
Anyway, do you want to wrap there?
Yes, let's wrap up. Alright guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye. We're doing audio. If you like what you heard today, be sure to follow us on Spotify or subscribe to our YouTube. We would also love if you followed us on Instagram at Tepid Mess Pod. Okay, love you. Bye.